Misogyny. This is the introduction. There are many types of misogyny: the white one, the African one, the African American one, the games, gangster, hip hop, and church subjugation. Overview: some like to hurt women, some like to subjugate women. Here's a root cause: state registered sex offenders. They usually hate women too. That girl that you saw, her husband is a state registered sex offender. She bullied me out of my job at the city of Delray Beach. Homosexuals are root cause of misogyny. Root causes. When people go into different cultures, in other cultures, like for instance the Caribbean, Central America, and South America, here's a root cause: childhood mind control. 1967, the Jehovah's Witnesses came and got me into their church. They had me for 30 years. That's a root cause. So root causes are, going into people's countries and going into their neighborhood in cultures that you're not familiar with. China is one of those cultures that is really scary to go into the country. Here's a root cause. In Venezuela, they pretended to be doing one thing and they're doing another. They pretend to be stopping drugs, but in fact they're stealing oil. Root causes. The African Americans are allowed to keep the $35 billion failed ecosystem. And these two boys here told me when we fall out, they'll put us in rehab. They count on the swivel door, 35 billion a year, 50,000 for an overdose and 45,000 for an incarceration. And the Chinese DeepSeek AI said that it's a failed ecosystem because of the swivel door. They're in and out of a place to live, which is rehab. So a root cause is nilotic rituals which are passed down from Africa to African Americans, primarily in countries of the Nile. That's what nilotic means: Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, Egypt, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda. So you can see here, these girls do this self-mutilation on their skin. These are things you can see. What about the rituals that you cannot see? The kind of rituals that they do that are horrible. Why is this old man sitting here nude with a hole behind him and another man on the other side? There are many rituals they do. And here's another other rituals involving something like witchcraft. And they're very horrible. Well, so the African American police proceeded to do a ritual on me. Well, my ex-husband started it and the African American police completed it. It's ritual misogyny. And the ritual was my ex-husband violated my First Amendment rights. My children were not able to speak to a judge in divorce court. I did not speak to a judge in divorce court, but we had police action, come in my house, destroy the kitchen. Of course, they cut the brake line on my kids, damaged the kitchen, and push me out of government to get my car back to back. And then I had to make videos for the CIA and the FBI to let them know the whole story. But it's really, you can see how the rituals in Africa pass down that kind of ritual, because the police in Broward County also tried to frame me grand theft auto and I didn't fall for it. So they sent a lady to hurt me. Anyway, so I wonder about the permission structure. I did a screenshot of Dick Cheney talking about a permission structure. So we don't know how much permission is done by the powers that be, the big men or whatever. So this right here is a root cause. My ex-husband was able to play a game. This is a game. Moving a child around, he tests and becomes gifted. He ends up killed over here. It's like 6 moves. In 6 moves, you can kill a gifted child. So men who hate child support I think, is a root cause. So interesting facts is that Heads Together was an organization empowered by the princes of the UK when their mother died. And it heads together means that a man and a woman in a team or in a marriage will put their heads together, which is not the same as what the churches say a man is the head. It's completely opposed to that. So African Americans and Africans have been able to do employment misogyny, which is to a white woman gives me a good written evaluation at the city of Delray Beach. She didn't even know I worked for the government of Jamaica in the summer when I was 17 and 18. She didn't know I worked for the European Union, which was the finest government I ever worked for, and they were the most exemplary public servants. They didn't act like they owned the money, although they were moving tranches of euros into banks and credit unions. Technology terrorism of African Americans and Africans is the Nigerians. They faked some identity and worked with me for 4 years, and at the end they exposed who they were, as well as did a little damage. But I feel like the FAU Business School I graduated 2009 did not teach me Bitcoin. They taught me Bitcoin, and also they taught me white papers. Banking terrorism. Well, right now, the Nigerians are actually getting your data and open credit cards in your name to do all kinds of things since Trump, as revenge because Donald Trump took away USAID. So I had a lot of African American police and bus drivers doing communication by radio and Obama free phones. I guess they're like stalking with it. So African Americans have police violating my First Amendment rights, Fourth Amendment rights, 7, 8, and 9 Amendment rights. And it was an African American state trooper. Then when I asked the white state trooper, he said no prior calls. So this guy is doing it off the computer. So I work 5 government jobs. I lived it, I saw it, I tell it. You even have government misogyny. So the technology and banking terrorism for 4 years was basically credit card fraud. They're doing bank fraud and Bitcoin in order to pull money out of the United States. And this is back to what my ex-husband was doing. His game, not going to divorce court, just moving around Florida. Do not become nobody girls or nothing women. That's what we will become. And the African Americans ran me into the ground. And so I guess there's a book called Nobody Girls, and nothing women are women with no property or anything. So the outcomes are general misogyny runs you into the ground. So here I am working for the city of Delray Beach. I buy a condo for sale by owner, and I get a townhouse from my husband's attorney with the help of a developer. And an African American state trooper comes and destroys my kitchen. I send a picture to the FBI. Then he damages the gear shift on my car. He gets a search permit in order to turn off the power because the house had an alarm. Then I'm driving and he tickets me back to back and takes my car. And my family are witnesses because they were back and forth from Canada, UK, New York, Washington. The latest relative to come was Washington. So back to my amendment rights. Remember, woman, you have First Amendment rights, Fourth Amendment rights, 7, 8, and 9 Amendment rights, and Kamala Harris is really trying to defend those for us. So, the suffering of children is suffering of the mother. No divorce court, no judge, police outrageous conduct. My sons told me about their suffering. No divorce court, no judge, police outrageous conduct, etc. And the possibilities are, if I'd left my little tyke down in Jamaica with my grandmother, that lady right here who helps my mother, I'd give her a little extra money to watch my son. And all he had to do was go across the street to school. Now, these are outcomes. African ritual are so horrible that they are able to do the 1994 Rwanda massacre and leave people in this condition. They don't have any conscience. And then in the United States, you can see the facial mutilation in the case of O.J. Simpson's wife She died from a stab wound to the neck, but they still did the facial mutilation. And you can see Rihanna, who is the Barbadian royalty. Chris Brown did this to her. So we can see that I do see some similarities. And it looks like the, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so it looks similar to what those survivors of the Rwanda massacre look like. Some outcomes are the mind control, which keep girls out from a good education to take care of themselves, and they fall victim to misogyny. It seems that the African Americans have some friends in Islam. I know the Jackson Five left the Jehovah's Witness Church and they became Muslim, and Muhammad Ali and some others. I have some few pictures of some wealthy African Americans who are Muslim. So their ties to Islam, I think, are what led to 9/11. This is mass media, which the African American gangster culture. Here is Kanye West having a girl do oral sex. His wife has to dress like a whore, and he's here having oral sex. He doesn't care. And this is another the gangster culture. This is another outcome is that women will be reduced to nobody girls. And then if you let them continue, this is what happened. This is the latest thing. Lil Wayne is doing this, and George Clooney has to punch him. That's why it has to stop. That's why I told the CIA and the FBI that you have to control them because it comes from the Nilotic ritual, is Nilotic unrestrained ritual behavior. So they're taking it too far now because you let them get out of control. And then there's this kind of bioterrorism. They told me that an African American guy was in the military and he became a police officer and he puts violate your Fourth Amendment right and puts worms in your bed. That's a little different from the stab wound that O.J. Simpson's wife had. And this is what happens to nobody girls. The outcomes are they end up on Epstein Island being used like that. So this would be one of the white misogyny outcomes. And this is another scenario, which is an outcome. These are pregnant nobody girls living with two men in a hut in Africa. Do you see those white women all pregnant there? That's a very unusual thing. Sorry, Charlie. I can't say thank you for everything that has happened, and I'm pursuing this as far as I can go. I even have an international human rights attorney.